Hey, everybody, welcome to the Tech-Mex Podcast. We're your hosts, Eric Mando, and this is episode 75. We're bringing you the top stories in Bitcoin, tech, and wealth so you too can throw some beads at us as we drive by in our Cybertrucks. Dale.
Dale. I am curious about that one.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it.
All right. So let's start with, what's your news for the U.S. establishing a strategic Bitcoin reserve? If you have seen or heard our pod, we have been saying that, right? Here's what I'm surprised, though. There were crickets. Like nothing. It's like, in fact, it went even a little bit down, like there was some volatility on the price. So what's going on, man?
Yeah. Well, just to catch those of you up, if you haven't heard, so the U.S. government, they did announce the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And this is not just a digital asset stockpile that we had mentioned before. This is a specific Bitcoin strategic reserve. So that's good. So you're seeing that the U.S., it's positioning itself at the forefront of the cryptocurrency adoption. Okay. So this move is aiming to bolster the economic competitiveness, and it really does signal kind of this big shift in how nations, not just the US, kind of perceive digital assets. So I think from a little bit further back, when we first mentioned the digital asset stockpile, that we saw that there some people
you like
are
that, huh?
Yeah. Well, Trump wanted to tap that DAS, so
these guys with the names that they do, they're such a trolls.
It's so funny. I mean, people, back then Bitcoiners are like, what WTF, what's this about? Because we've been talking about Bitcoin reserve, not this digital asset stockpile. Okay, well, it sounds like they did come around, and now that they signed this thing into law, they did that executive order, and now there's an actual Bitcoin strategic reserve. So there's both. And I guess the goal is Bitcoin's going to go in one, and then everything else goes in the other, digital asset stockpile. But there was some verbiage that maybe some people are like, that's why you didn't see the price shoot up, right?
Mm-hmm. There are a couple things. We'll discuss them, but number one is that the U.S. Treasury now holds about 200,000 Bitcoins. It's the new virtual Fort Knox, right?
That's pretty cool.
Last week, I did a small video there. Please take a look on that one, because I feel that right now the government is almost treating the government as a business. Not sure if it's right. We'll see. A story will tell us in the future, right? Because I feel that right now they're doing the inventory of all of the assets that the government has. And they're doing it with the virtual assets, in this case, obviously, Bitcoin. With doing other reserve, they're trying to make it more official. Because also in Fort Knox, they probably going to tell us how much gold it is there, and they're going to reappraise all of these assets. So in that way, I think that the government is going to say, you know what? We have all of these assets, and it's going to be priced in this amount. So I feel that maybe US was losing the trust from other countries, because like, hey, these guys are printing like no tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, I don't trust the dollar, right? But now saying, no, wait a minute. You don't need to trust our word. We have assets here that we can prove that that's the value. Then what the government is probably going to do is just to issue more debt in order for us to be able to pay the debt that we have, right? So there is a lot of money there. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure. So I think we've seen a lot of these images start popping up now that there's a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We no longer need to rely on just the gold painted bricks that are at Fort Knox. Now we have the virtual Fort Knox with actual Bitcoin that is verifiable on the blockchain. So I think this is a pretty monumental time in terms of Bitcoin adoption, especially with the U.S. Leading the way here. Like this administration has said before, they want to be the leading country in Bitcoin and in digital assets. But we did see that there's not just Bitcoin, right?
Yes,
We're also
that was
seeing other
something.
ones, right?
That one seems interesting because the digital stockpile, tap does beyond Bitcoin is basically includes other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum,
Mm-hmm.
Solana, Cardano. Uh, I feel that maybe again this is a little more of the uh, you have a little bit of the division about the crypto bros, because you have the maxi bitcoiners that is like, hey, no, all of these are tokens, you can just divide them, print them almost like money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is true. You basically you don't have a fixed amount like Bitcoin. That's kind of the reason why uh, we bitcoiners, we believe that that's the way.
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I feel that the other ones, maybe the government, that's what they want. They want an asset that they can continue to keep printing. And yes, they also want something like gold, or in this case, virtual Fort Knox, like Bitcoin, that you can't print. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
I'm still debating myself if that's a good strategy. But I feel that it's good for the space. I remember I mentioned it before. In some point, government, it made me feel like it was not good for me to hold Bitcoin, right? Because like they were going after people, like there were some instances where, hey, you were doing some transactions. Are they going to allow you to have it? And anti-money laundry and all of these rules across. And now we see it officially, right? The U.S. government now holds Bitcoin, and they are saying, "Hey, it's part of our reserve funds. We are not going to put basically sell them on the on the market, right, to the highest bidder. They're gonna hold it, which they see the value on this."
Yeah, definitely. So I think that's one of the key things with the Bitcoin strategic reserve is that the plan is to hold it, to hodl. The U.S.
They're gonna
government is
hodl.
going to hodl Bitcoin. They're going to be hodling. So I think that's one of the key things, and maybe that's a differentiation that. And we had mentioned this before. That's a differentiation between the reserve and that the digital asset stockpile. Maybe the stockpile will be used more such kind of be able to sell whenever it's advantageous, right? For the other coins and tokens that are being put in there. There's something else that I read about though, that some people are saying that the reason they chose these other coins is because the U.S. already has like a strong position in them in terms of its majority U.S. owned versus some other coins that may have other countries that have strong ownership in them. I think they picked these because they've seen that they are majority U.S. owned. So that's an interesting thing. There have been some interviews that have come up with the secretary that have said with David Sachs, right? That have said, "Hey, so how is this reserve going to work? Are we only going to take the 200,000 that we currently have and leave it there?" And he said, "No." He actually clarified. He says, "We do plan on buying more." I think some of the verbiage had said that they wanted to have kind of this a neutral approach in terms of they don't want to like take out loans to buy more Bitcoin and things like that. But they still do plan on growing it. It's just not clear right now how they really plan on doing this. But David Sachs did mention, yes, they do want to, in fact, increase the amount of Bitcoin. How to purchase it, we'll see, but that they do have that within their plans.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see how that turns out. I feel that this is a good progress. What it's doing. Then we will see, and I'm glad that they are not trying to purchase more with debt, because they will over leverage, right? And we have
Yeah.
seen how that implodes.
We have seen that, so that's good. It seems to be a very measured and thoughtful approach. They're not going out like full maxis like Sailor or Senator Loomis wanted, like, we're gonna buy it every week at this month, no matter how much it is. They're not doing that approach, but maybe that's what Bitcoin maxis were expecting or wanted. So maybe
Hmm.
that's why we saw some of this price dip. But still believe this is great great news. If you thought back 10 years ago that we would be saying, hey, the US is adopting Bitcoin as part of a digital reserve for the whole country, we said that 10 years ago, we would be like, you're on some hopium right now. Maybe at some point in the future, but in 10 years, I don't know. And here we are. Well, it's a little bit more than 10 years, but we're there to that point, and it's really legitimizing the space and Bitcoin itself.
Yeah. This week I finished a book. It's pretty big though. It's called Atlas Shrugged. The author is Ayn Rand. It's just a nice reminder of capitalism. So if you like these topics, I fully recommend it. It goes into some of the philosophy and to be objective, right, on reality using reason. So a lot of these things that we're seeing, I know that sometimes you have different colors on the politics, right? But in my mind, a lot of this kind of makes sense, right? It's like, hey, spend less money, produce more, things that we kind of obviously shouldn't argue, right? Independently of the politics. And I feel that right now, doing the inventory on the assets makes sense, right? Trying to say, okay, how much do I owe? What is my debt? Understanding my expenses. I feel that is kind of in the core of the country, right? Which is capitalism. So
Yeah.
I like that direction, independently of the colors of the politics.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I read something that said, if Bitcoin hits $36 million, that would be pretty much to the point where it would cancel out the debt that the U.S. currently has. Now, $36 million seems like it's far away, but you never know. I mean, Bitcoin makes really, really big moves. And if that is the end game, the end goal for this administration, they see it within its sight that, hey, this might be a way to be able to cancel out the debt that we have. They might figure out how to get Bitcoin to pump up towards those numbers sooner rather than later. So
Yep.
I think that's a very interesting point there.
I mean, to be honest, it can grow up to the demand, right? So why? Because it's a fixed amount. So maybe some of the people that they are saying about you start looking sats, because maybe 1 million sats will become $1 million, right? We never know.
Yeah. So, of course, we're just kind of guessing here. This is not financial advice, but I mean, the tea leaves are showing us certain things, and it's really a matter of time before we get there.
For sure. So now let's move to the next one, which is AI. Dude, there is some things moving on super fast, right? So now, hear this out. Revolutionizing filmmaking with AI. So, I mean, we have seen, like, look at this. They are called creatures, so critters, I guess. Yeah, critters, yeah. They have a short film, if I remember, right? This is OpenAI. Now I think that they're going to do a virtual production. So we have here with the agents, you can have your virtual producer, your creatives, and creating some of the story. And obviously with voice within 11 Labs, right? That's the company that is just focusing on a lot of the voice to make it very human-alike. Because there is something very characteristic of humans that we spot like fake very quickly, right? Like if it's something that is generated in AI, it's getting harder for sure.
Yeah, it's getting harder.
But it's still, it's like, oh, something is odd. Not sure if it's the image.
Uncanny valley.
That's right. And then sometimes it's even better to look like, okay, this is completely fake, and then the brain just, okay, this is fake. It's okay. But yeah, I think that is something ingrained also with robots. If it looks very realistic but it's still plasticky, it's like
more creepy.
It looks creepy. It becomes creepy, actually.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so I mean, I think this is pretty interesting. I mean, us being kind of podcasters and being in tech, this kind of is an interesting intersection for us, because even us, we're looking at ways to leverage AI to help with automation and some of the back end of the work that it takes to do you know, a podcast production like this. So it's really interesting to see how then this is being used and leveraged at the film level, which I mean, it really only makes sense that you're going to see a lot more of this. And, you know, I've seen some documentaries or some movies also that say, hey, there's certain parts of this film that we used AI to create. Like in some cases, there's maybe some historical artifacts or historical things that we don't really have that many images of or something like that. AI can kind of guess what it is based off of some input. So, you know, there are some uses where AI can fill in things, and even things like Premiere Pro. They've got these AI features now where you can extend a scene and it'll just extend the video. Like if you need an extra 2 seconds, it'll just extend the video using AI, so you don't have to like refigure things or find a different clip or things like that. So I know it's really growing, and it's really growing really fast. So it's really interesting to see this open AI using this or going for this critters thing where, you know, it looks like a DreamWorks type thing,
Yeah.
DreamWorks type movie. So
It
it's
used
pretty
to take
interesting.
years, right, to be able to create those movies with hundreds and hundreds of people and creative designers, right? So now you have this virtual production, and the future is now. So it's exciting. I feel that maybe filming in Hollywood will become more like almost game studios. I remember back those books where you actually could choose the end of your story, right? Like, do you remember those books?
Oh yeah. What were they called? Either
Choose,
way, yeah. Choose your
choose
own
your story,
adventure.
or yeah,
Choose
choose
your
your
own
adventure.
adventure type of thing.
Then it's like jump to this page if you want this. Like you can make a decision.
Yeah.
I feel that maybe movies, because now it's gonna be easier to create the content. They're gonna be able to do it, and now everybody kind of has smart homes or smart TVs, whatever, right? Then it's like, okay, you can interact with the TV. So we might start seeing that, right? The different
Yeah.
customized experience on that, which it looks more like a game instead of just watching the movie. We'll see
Mhm.
how that converge between AI studios versus gaming studios and all collides together.
It's all gonna come together. There was that TV show or movie not too long ago on Netflix that had kind of something like that. It was like a TV show, but it was about the person's life or something like that, and it had like real people in there. It was maybe last year, the year before. Very, very interesting. But it was all, the premise was like, you know, we're getting to the point where AI is able to have real life looking people, and just you type in the story and it can be like a choose your own adventure thing. So we'll have to look up what the name of that movie was. It's pretty interesting.
Nice.
But it's gonna make the barrier to entry of doing filmmaking, it's gonna lower that a lot, I think. Because if you've got an idea for a specific scene or something like that, you don't have to go hire, you know, a CGI person or something like that. In a lot of cases, you can make do with like putting a green screen behind you and you doing the acting, and then you just tell AI to make you look like an alien or something like that, right? So there's a lot of shortcuts that AI is going to afford a lot of these directors and people that work in film. Now, of course, we've seen a lot of times there's some backlash because it's saying AI is taking certain jobs. And so I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think we're going to get over that, or are there's going to be these group of people that are like anti AI and refuse to kind of like move forward?
I mean, we have seen through history, right? Like every time that there is a revolution, and it used to be industrial revolution, I think that this is a digital revolution. We will see some friction. You'll see these collisions among people that they don't want to use it, and the others that they want to use it, and the others ones that they understand that, like, oh shit, this actually is going to replace us all. So I do feel that maybe if you go back even to humanity, lives were very simple. You had food, right? You had your shelter, and then you have a lot of rest of your time to create, to literally do art. That's kind of like difference between us and other animals. You don't see a freaking tiger trying to just create, create like freaking art on the caves, right?
Right.
Or sitting around with their family in a freaking like, fire pit. So I do feel that maybe it's going to take us some time to adjust, to go back to the simple things,
Hmm.
family, enjoying, like doing art, things like that. I saw somebody else post in Twitter the
Uh-huh.
path of the man. Like it had different paths. I had the path of the 9 to 5 gig, right? In the center was with almost people are doing that. The path of the artist, all wiggly, like you don't see like a straight path, but you know, and you have the other path of kind of like a uh maybe you are doing a hobby or whatever. And the funny thing here is at the end, at the bottom, everybody was doing art.
Yeah.
Think about it. If you retire,
Hmm.
what are you gonna do? Are you gonna watch Netflix, sip margaritas by the pool, right?
Podcast.
Exactly, which is in some sense art, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, that's true. No, and it's really interesting. So recently, right, we had the all the award show that's going on. So I watched like all these different movies, Honora, which was very interesting, Substance, very interesting. I don't know if you're into watching some of these movies during that are getting the awards. Honora did win, I think, Best Picture, and then maybe Best Actress also. Very interesting. I'm just curious to see at one point we're going to start seeing more AI used in these movies, because right now these are just straight up movies about exotic dancers and things like that, right? And I'm just very, very interested to see at what point we're going to see like where it's going to be accepted, and where um, these award shows might actually be willing to give an award to something that is maybe half of it is made with AI, because isn't it at the end about the storytelling and things like that? It's that's what kind of matters.
There is, and again, probably we right now is off, but as we keep moving forward, it's tough, right, to figure out that part. But yeah, right now it's about the how we are able to present the stories, and sometimes the oddity of being human, right? You can have it
Hmm.
perfect with a machine, but then it's like, well, why people still buy its art, right?
Hmm.
And sometimes it's so silly, right? Like I remember always the banana with the, with the tape. Do you
It's
really
hard.
do you really think that a freaking machine is gonna come back with that? No, it reminds me, you know what? Comedy.
Hmm.
Comedy sometimes is like so off that's the reason why it's so funny. Like why the chicken cross the road? Like
Hmm.
I mean, it's like what the heck, right?
It's like
The contrast
that
exactly. And you just laugh.
the AI overload told it to cross. So
Exactly, you can make any
yeah.
excuse, right? Which again is just maybe there's something like that that machines is. I think that's the part that machine it will be very hard to understand.
Yeah, there's definitely some gaps still, but we're seeing with all these new AI agents, kind of um, what's coming. Just I know we haven't talked too much about agents. Maybe it's something that we talk about next time. But I've seen a lot of people are really going through this where they're making an AI agent basically for every piece of a company that you might have. So let's say you have some type of production company of some sort when you're doing filmmaking. And you just have an AI agent for each thing, and so you might have like 20 AI agents, each doing a job that a person might normally do, and you basically have a whole production company. So it's going to be really, really interesting. Now, what we say is you've got to move with technology. You got to make sure you're not left behind. So the key is then how do you leverage it to your advantage, right? And I think it'll be smaller productions will be able to get their stories out. I heard a stat. What was it? I think it was for Nora, the movie that won Best Picture. Their budget for their movie was something like $6 million or something like that, which seems reasonable. And then, but the budget that they used to actually market the movie was $18 million. So it cost 3 times as much to market the movie to try and win this award of Best Picture than it did to actually just make the movie. So it's really weird how this works and things like that. So maybe they can get using technology, that price down even lower. Maybe there's an opportunity there.
I mean, it's the gatekeepers is always kind of the distribution. It got better though. It used to be harder when TV, radio, right? Like only people
Mhm.
that they could afford that. Now with internet and YouTube, if you're great, you'll get known. By the way, maybe the audience doesn't even tell that maybe we are AI generated.
Glitch.
Yeah.
I'd be a little skinnier if I was AI created.
It's okay. Yeah, you're doing good.
All right. Well, speaking of glitches in the Matrix, have you seen the Mexican Cybertruck?
No, like you just sent me that like in the morning. Is that like a famous person, like truck or?
I wasn't sure, but in the comments here it says Peso Pluma. So I don't know if this is Peso Pluma's truck or what, but it has a pretty good look to it. I wouldn't mind using this as inspiration. But I saw it first on TikTok. They said, "Hey, would you rather have a Mexican Cybertruck or a normal American Cybertruck?" And I'm like, what is a Mexican Cybertruck? They even use the Bitcoin symbols, but I think they call it the
The
billionaire
billion
something,
edition, no? The
the
billion
billionaire
edition.
edition, the billion edition. It's like, well, okay, that works. Yeah, billion edition. You see it there.
Yeah,
It looks pretty sharp. I like the wide body look.
I do like the shiny chrome black look. I do like that one. Um, they made it wider, probably the tires, right? The
Yeah,
tires
even
and
the
the
tires are wider. Yeah.
yeah, it feels like the tires are wide. And also, they paint or they wrapped. I'm not sure if it's a wrap or a paint, but the bumpers, anything that is plastic, also they did it. So that looks
Yeah.
lit. Yeah.
It's a pretty good look there for this thing. Well, I would imagine if they saw this rolling down the street at Mardi Gras, maybe they wouldn't have
Oh
thrown
shit! I saw
so
that one.
many beads.
Yeah. So there was a comment from this guy in Twitter. He's like, "Oh, this is delicious. I love New Orleans. The crowd is spinning on the Cybertruck and peddling beers and beats." And trash at the Mardi Gras led, and basically the truck just fled, right? So kind of sucks, man. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing kind of both sides of this, right? There's still strong supporters, and then there's people throwing a bunch of stuff at the Cybertruck. You can see it here on the screen. There are people cheering on. I heard that they had to call the police to like help them get out because at some point it was just a lot of stuff being thrown at them,
yeah. So
even with the Merca flags in the back.
tough, man. I mean, it's like, and again, it becomes very political, right? For everything that is happening in US. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that turns out. By the way, in my area, there is a bunch of Cybertrucks already here in Texas. I have seen a gray one, the black one, and mine is just with no wrap. Yeah, it's and I have seen also people wrapping them just white. So that's like all colors over here. So I saw kind of an avocado one, like a green one.
Avocados de Mexico.
I guess it's also Mexican. That was like, nah, it's not a Lambo, it's not like every color that a Lambo can be. Yep.
That's so funny. That's true. I do see them every so often. I try to flash my high beams at them whenever I see them to say hi. I can never find the damn button. It's like
That's not
which
cool,
one
man.
is
What are
like
you
what
talking
was
about? Like the glad blindness, like
well, eventually I'm gonna have that light bar at the top. By the way, how are you liking your running boards? Shout out to our sponsors,
yeah.
Hand
Shout out
Show.
to our sponsor Hansho. It was very easy to install and it looks very very nice. I tell people it's like, you know what? I never modify my cars, and now it's kind of fun, to be honest. It's like you start adding things to make it look a bit different.
Yeah, that's true. I like the look of those running boards. So it's pretty cool. We have some from CT Mods also. So shout out to them too. And I know EV Base. We've getting a lot of purchases through EV Base. So really appreciate all the referrals that are coming in from that. But that's all we've got for today's episode. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Just remember to like, subscribe, comment. It really does help us out. We're trying to grow this channel, providing information and articles for you guys to hear about. So if you guys have any ideas of anything that you wanted to cover, just let us know. If not, just you'll see us out there doing our videos. I think we've got some more coming in because we've got some more products coming up for the Cybertruck. So I think that's all we've got for today. Dale.
Peace.